Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are featuring this Masters of the Universe Revelation Skeletor. He's a part of Mattel's Masterverse line, and he features 30 points of articulation, suggested for children ages 6 and up, and this is how Skeletor appears in the new Netflix animated series. Alright, so we come to Skeletor. Initially, this was a line of action figures I did not intend to collect. But, you know, you buy one figure, and then you buy another, and the next thing you know, you almost have the entire set. So, when the figures first came out a few months ago, I was kind of hesitant on getting them. I just got Evelyn because I really liked her character in the cartoon. I kind of felt He-Man and Skeletor were kind of like this very vanilla and plain looking, so I just kind of passed up on them. But it's at the point now where I had I think 3/4 of the available collection, and I kind of just caved in. I'm like, I may as well just get the rest of them. So which brings us to this. We're looking at Skeletor. He looks great in the box. I love the illustration on the side. It looks awesome. On the back, there's this really, really awesome illustration of Skeletor. And here's the first wave. We have He-Man, which I just finished recording a review for just now. I did Mossman earlier in the night. We're doing Skeletor now, and Evelyn I probably filmed like a month ago. So let's read a little about Skeletor. Skeletor, the evil lord of destruction. For ages, Skeletor ravaged the land and terrorized the people of Eternia in his quest to capture all of the power in the universe for himself. Now the nefarious scourge of Eternia plots his final hostile takeover of Castle Grayskull. With dark magic, devious technology, and an army of loyal soldiers at his back, this sinister sorcerer believes this time nothing can stop him. Not even He-Man. So yeah, great looking figure. Kind of plain looking, but you know, this is what Skeletor looks like. And we're going to take a look at him right now. So if you're watching the Netflix series, the character is voiced by Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. And that really throws me off because Mark Hamill also voiced the Joker in the Batman animated series. And I don't think not that his Skeletor is bad, but it feels too much like the Joker. And that's really throwing me off. I don't think Mark Hamill's Skeletor cackles enough. For some reason I kind of remember the 80s Filmation Skeletor just having a different pitched voice, and it always sounded like he was cackling. Whereas the Mark Hamill Skeletor, for me it just sounds like the Joker, which I guess is all right. But I mean, I love Mark Hamill, don't get me wrong, but you know, I kind of want my villains to be separated. I don't want Skeletor and the Joker being synonymous with one another. Although they do kind of have similar personality traits, I believe. Alright, so this is Skeletor. This figure came out some months ago. I'm very late to the party, so I'm taking a look at him now. First impressions of the figure while he's in the tray. Alright, for some reason this guy's taped in. The He-Man I reviewed was not taped in, but this guy is. Alright, so first impressions. Yeah, I dig him. It's Skeletor. I think I'm kind of having some issues with the color choices. Like for me, I think his skull could be a little bit more yellow. It's kind of like this. It's kind of like more gray than yellow. And I want to see in the cartoon his face is very yellow. He has this. If I get it out, he has a staff here that has the ram skull on top of it. So there's that. There's this additional staff. I can't remember if this is from the cartoon or not, because I know the original toy didn't have this. The original toy came with the staff, and it came with half of the power sword. He has 2 extra hands. He has a splayed out hand like this, and a hand where it's kind of slightly pointed. And, oh god, I don't like this cape. He comes with a cloth cape, but yeah, very disappointed with the cloth goods cape. I'm not a big fan of like cloth on action figures, especially this material here. Yeah, I would have preferred like a soft rubber, like plastic cape that was sculpted. This feels more like something you'd find like at a craft store, like, you know, Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And I don't know, it's kind of see-through too. You know, you catch it in the light, you can kind of see through it. There's a part of me, I kind of wish maybe I could just remove the cape. We'll take a look at that in a second. Alright, so we have Skeletor here. He's looking decent. So He-Man and Skeletor, they're very generic looking characters. They share a lot of the same body parts in terms of the action figures. Like the torso, I believe, is the same. The forearms are different, though. I'll give it that. Skeletor's forearms, they kind of have these like, they're like layers of like, they almost look like fins or gills or something on the side of his forearms, which is reminiscent of the older figure. He kind of has, he has like, I want to say the old toy he had more like webbed feet, whereas this one kind of has like three toes on each foot, which looks kind of wild. I kind of dig it. His cowl covers over his head. His head looks kind of small, especially towards the top of his cranium. It kind of like, instead of it being like a round shape, it seems like it's kind of like, you know, narrower at the top. His chest armor is actually 2 separate pieces, it looks like. So he has like a double strapped harness underneath, and then this overlays on top of it. I'm kind of curious about the cape. Yeah, it looks like the cape is this, if you wanted to, I'm not sure how easy it is to remove the head, like right off the bat. For me, I'd probably try heating it up first in like hot water or a hair dryer to soften the plastic, and then I'd remove the head, and just to see if I can remove the cape, because I'm not very fond of this cape. I could live with Skeletor without a cape. You know, for me, the cape's not essential to Skeletor. I had many versions of Skeletor as a kid growing up where he didn't have the cape, so. Alright, I'm not sure if the microphone's picking this up, but it's like midnight. It's almost midnight where I live, and there's like, I don't know if there's a tornado or something outside, but it is really windy outside. Alright, but back to the figure. He looks good. One of the things that's kind of throwing me off is that I'm so used to like the original Skeletor where all the plastic additional pieces of his armor is just like a solid color. Like for here, his loincloth with the original toys, it's just one solid, like, I think it's like a blue or purple. Whereas here, it's kind of divided. The purple is the belt, and then the loincloth part is kind of like, almost like a black leather, which I'm kind of digging a lot. Likewise, the harness is here, it looks like a dark purple, whereas the top here is like a separate color. They kind of got rid of the bat design. Like some versions of Skeletor, like I believe the OG one, up here, it almost like it had the semblance of like a bat symbol that wrapped around the upper part of his chest. Whereas here, it kind of just retains kind of like a webbed pattern. And this is kind of throwing me off also. Like, if this thing isn't situated perfectly, if you notice, it's supposed to rest perfectly around this gemstone, because you can see the indent right there. So normally, it's supposed to, remain seated like this, so it looks like one solid piece. But it kind of like occasionally float up and get disjointed. So there's part of me kind of wishing that maybe this would have tabs or something, so you could tab this into place and it would hold permanently. But if not, it just kind of rides up like this, which is kind of bothersome. I don't like how the armor pieces here, these kind of like straps, how they're kind of gappy. I would prefer it more if, you know, they kind of like were abutted to one another, like here. I'm not too fond of the gappiness here. It looks kind of odd. I do like on the cowl how it kind of like tips over and points like this. It kind of reminds me of the Hobgoblin from the Marvel Universe. The sculpting and detail, in terms of the musculature, it's very stock for a Masters of the Universe figure. He's just ripped and buff, but he's not super vascular, so it's not like you see a lot of veins, if any. Proportion-wise, he's kind of, you know, he's proportioned pretty much more realistically than the Origins figures. The Origin figures look very squat, whereas this guy kind of falls more in line with, you know, what you might expect from like a Marvel Legends in terms of the anatomy. Articulation-wise, his head rotates. He can look down. Not really. He can't really look up. He has a cut below his chest right here, so that allows for his upper torso to slightly tilt. He could kind of bend over a little. It could bend back just a little bit. Not a whole super much. His waist is cut. He can rotate. He can rotate his arms. They go up. Bicep cut so they can swivel. His elbows are double jointed. And the pins are hidden. So he can like flex. And man, that's a tight bend. Just wait. Alright, so now I can't bend one of his arms. Wow, that's tight. Give me a second. Let's see if I can loosen this. Yeah, that's tight. There we go. So as you can see here, he could double bend his elbow. Mine was really tight. I actually pinched my thumb just now, and it really hurts. So yeah, that bends. Wrist articulation. In terms of his legs, he can kick forward. This is a softer plastic than the one on He-Man. It's not as dense, so it's a little bit easier to move his leg forward, unlike He-Man. He could kick out. It's a little tight on my figure, though. Yeah, both of his legs are kind of tight. I can't kick out as far as I'd like. He has a thigh cut, swivel, double jointed knees. The pins are hidden. It's a nice, near seamless look. He has a boot cut, so his boots rotate, and ankle articulation. So a very stock figure. As for his staff, it looks pretty neat. It almost feels... Alright, so the skull here, the ram skull, it kind of rotates on the top. So I'm kind of curious if you can actually pull this off. Maybe if you heated it up, you might be able to remove it. I'm almost tempted to say, I think I've seen on Instagram people remove this, and then they'll remove Skeletor's head. And I want to say I've seen people plug the ram skull onto the top of the neck for some figures. And if you've seen the cartoon, you'll kind of understand why. But I gotta double check that. Yeah, so this head might be removable, you know, if you heat it up, and then you might be able to do a head swap, I think. Okay, so let's talk numbers. If I had to rate this guy numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, how would I rate him? Part of me wants to say a 7.5. It's Skeletor. I have issues with this here. I don't like the cape. I think it's horrible. I'd probably, you know, I might remove the cape if I display this guy. You know, heat up the head, remove the head, separate this. Then I think the cape would just come off. The color scheme, it's all right, but there's something throwing me off about this. I don't know what it is yet. But, you know, overall, it's a decent figure. It's sculpted well. The engineering's well done. He has all the points of articulation that you expect from a modern action figure. The range of motion is there, but like I said, for my legs, it doesn't seem like he wants to kick out to the side, even though he's capable of it. It just feels a little tight. Oh, there you go. So yeah, he'll kick out to the side, but now it won't go back. Go back. It's all right. So now it won't kick back. It feels like there's an indent on the inside of the leg, and it's not. All right. So now that I've taken it out, I can't move it back in. All right. So that's a problem in itself right now. Okay, so now my figure does not want to stand with his legs closed in. He's at this wide stance. So when I move the legs outward, I can feel the indent, but then I can't reset it back to like neutral. It doesn't want to go back to neutral. All right, there, I felt it click in that time. I always wonder what these videos seem like if you're like just like a normal human being that doesn't collect action figures. Like, you know, for us as hobbyists and collectors, we could be very nitpicky and just obsessive over certain things. And I don't know how this comes across to like the average person, if it just seems asinine or something. But you know, it's part of the hobby. You know, we're into this for like the long haul, and I think we all have certain expectations about how like an action figure should like feel or perform, especially when you're paying a certain amount of money for it. You know, this kind of borderlines on much more of a premium collectible than like a standard like child's toy action figure. So I think the expectation is a little bit higher in terms of, you know, what you want it to do or the quality that you have in your hand. All right, so since we're on the subject of Skeletor and a slightly larger scaled Skeletor, let's bring out one of his cousins. And here he is. We have the 2000 X Skeletor, and I believe this is the second release of the figure. And I only say that because of the color scheme. The original release of the figure, where all these pieces are black, I believe the original one was more so blue or purple. I used to have the first version of this figure, but I gave it away to one of my little cousins. And then I regretted it much later, and a couple years later, I tried to hunt down these figures like on eBay and Amazon and stuff. And this guy came up. No, I take it back. I found this guy actually at a toy show. Even though it was the second release, the price was pretty reasonable on it, and I just caved in. I'm like, it's essentially the same sculpt as the first release. It's the only thing different is that he has black instead of where it's supposed to be purple, and I'm like, I could live with that. And he still looks cool. He looks awesome in the black. I love that this one's skull is actually like, you know, kind of that putrid yellow, like what you expect from Skeletor. This one looks kind of gray, and I'm curious to know if this actually glows in the dark if you put a black light under it. It might. It kind of looks like that kind of colored plastic where it might glow in the dark under the right lighting conditions. The sculpting on this, it was done by the Four Horsemen. That was the art studio that was contracted at the time that did the figures for Mattel for the 2000X line. The sculpting and the stylization of the characters, I think, is fantastic. It's part of the reason why I'm so fond of the 2000X Masters of the Universe line. There was just something about the way they handled the characters and the figures. They just looked amazing. Like the armor here, the sculpting is beautiful. It's really well detailed. It's really well detailed. And I'm losing my voice. This is ridiculous. Alright, this is ridiculous. Alright, so I've been filming videos all day. And then yesterday I had a presentation for work. So now I'm like losing my voice. It's ridiculous. But I'm going to push on and just finish this. Alright, so trying to move forward and trying to get my voice back. Let's finish up this video. The 2000X line was amazing. If you look here, the sculpting and the details, they just took Skeletor and just really amped it up. You know, they took his loincloth, they made it longer, they gave it this crazy sculpt, like some wild face. The armor here almost looks more like a wild, crazy coral reef with like jagged edges and like gemstones. The figure has a cool play feature. You know, there's a button on the back and he can like swing his arm. So if you put his his weapons in here. It brought the character to life. It's really, really cool. I'm very nostalgic for the 2000X line, and there's a part of me that really wants to like recollect these and get these mint on card, because I think they're fantastic. All right, with that being said, and I'm losing my voice like crazy, let's wrap this up. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your likes, comments, and continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And hopefully I'll get my voice back so I can record more videos. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Later.